Well, good evening, everybody. How are you doing? It's Friday night and it's time for you to have some fun, for you to get some information. It's a new month, it's May, and I want to share with you if you are overwhelmed with because you're managing multiple schedules, you're managing multiple calendars, this month is for you because this month we're talking about booking systems, tools you use to automate scheduling appointments on your calendar. We're going to break it down into multiple parts so that we can really dig in. And tonight, I'm just going to share with you the reasons you would want to use this type of a tool, where the benefit is for you. Welcome. I'm Florence. I'm your productivity practitioner, and I work with purposeful leaders and entrepreneurs to eliminate the friction in your productivity systems through video tutorials and coaching and building community. I want to welcome you again to the show, Purpose for Productivity, and love that you are here. I do want to let you know early, I want to get your questions. So if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the comments, put a Q colon in front of it, and during the Q&A segment of the show tonight, we will get those questions answered. I also want to say welcome to those of you who are here with us, the live tribe this evening. I want to just see who is out here in the building because we do got some folks out here in the building with us. So let me hop over. Of course, I'm going to say hello to Frank Jackson. Glad to have you in the building, literally in the building tonight with me. So glad to have you here. We're doing something new, y'all, and I'll talk about that as a little extra bonus. Good evening, Walter Strong from the Huddle with Walter Strong III. Glad to have you in the building with us this evening, and some other folks will join in, I'm sure, at some point this evening. But I'm so glad to have you here. And again, if you have a question, put a Q colon in front of it, and I will be sure to answer it. And we do have somebody else who just popped in here. The emotional CEO is in the building with us this evening. Welcome, and so glad you're here and you're back stateside. And Tech Troublemaker, glad to have you. Hey, Roy, let me know if you're someplace near your studio. I may want to do something this evening. Put it in the chat if you're near the studio this evening. I got a little treat for you. So we're going to hop right into the content. So glad to have everybody in the building with me this evening. And tonight, we're talking about determining when is the time to begin thinking about and when to put a booking system in place. So let me explain first what a booking system is. A booking system is a piece of software that you use. uh, well, go to your studio, Roy. A piece of software that you use that you can send people to it using web links, and they put appointments on your calendar, whatever time and frame. And we'll get into the mechanics of how to set them up and what they look like and definitions and all of that later. But booking software is just that, it's a way to automate scheduling appointments on your calendar. And we want to get into the first reason and that you would use this. And that is when you're managing multiple schedules. And I'm going to qualify that by saying also when you're managing heavy schedules. What do I mean by that? Managing multiple schedules, managing heavy schedules. I mean, you have to, you're doing some things like you're booking customers for appointments. You're a coach, you're an instructor, you are a counselor, you're a mentor. You're booking people to meet with you either one-on-one or in small groups. And what you're finding yourself having to do is manage it manually. You're taking a bunch of emails in, phone calls, text messages, trying to coordinate a bunch of different calendars and come up with the time that you all can meet. That is a great time of having when you're having to work through all of those times. That's a great time to start thinking about using booking software. Another time, and I said it, but if you are uh, teaching courses and you're doing webinars or summits or conferences and you want to book people into those events and you don't want to have to manage it individually, that's another time that you want to consider. You could also consider it just simply when you're setting up your business, your practice, uh, that you want to just be ready to take those appointments on. And you can just set it up. These are reasons you want to have a booking system in place or booking software in place. You can set it up so that even before you start or just as you're starting, you can have it ready to go. I call that putting your infrastructure in place. So if you're putting your infrastructure in place, that is actually a really great time. In my case, I had used book I'll give some examples of how I've done this. I'd use booking software for other purposes. So when I started my YouTube channel, I understood that there was going to be an opportunity for other people who would want to meet with me. I set up my booking system immediately because it was going to be simpler for me to do that. I'm going to talk about simplifying your day in this process. So the reasons you would want to use this is when you have multiple calendars or multiple groups of people that you're trying to schedule appointments with, and you could get hung up or get overwhelmed with manually trying to coordinate when everybody is going to get together. A long time ago, we used to use tools like Doodly, where you would send out a group of appointment times and have everybody pick the time, and then you'd schedule the appointment. And sometimes that was with one person, and when you were trying to get your calendars together. This way of scheduling eliminates that back and forth and that coordination. It's good for volunteer work, it's good for business, it's good for ministry, it's good even in your family if you're trying to coordinate things. So there is a reason and a use case for it in multiple situations and context. It's not just if you have a job or you go to corporate or whatever. It really is useful throughout your life. We've got some other folks who've joined us. I want to say good evening to you and so glad to have you here. Hello, Laura. So happy to have you here. Yes, happy Friday. Happy Friday. And hello, Denise. I saw you on the mat. So glad to see you. And I did respond to you. So I didn't see your email earlier, but I did see it. So I responded to you. Yes. Hey to the live tribe. Glad to have you all in the building with me this evening. Again, if you have a question, please go ahead and put your question in chat or comments. Put a Q colon in front of it, and during the Q&A section this evening, I'll be glad to answer your questions. So let's move on to number 2. We now know the reasons that we would want to use this type of a tool. I'm going to share with you the next one is why what it does to streamline your processes. I wanted to think about how I wanted to say that differently than the way I wrote my bullet point. And I mentioned it, but I really want to dig into this. Reducing the back and forth of sending dates and times out and getting them back saying, yes, this works. No, it doesn't. Can you do Wednesday? Can you do Friday? Can you do 3 weeks from now? Streamline your process so that you set up your booking calendar to say, these are the times, these are the dates. Example, I don't take appointments on Friday evenings. In my booking calendar, Friday evening is not even available at all. I take no appointments on Friday evening. I also I cut off bookings earlier on Tuesdays because of commitments I have on Tuesday. So I am using this as a way to streamline my process of people booking appointments with me. It doesn't matter, or I use them for friends. I use them for volunteer service that I in when people want to book appointments with me. I use it for ministry, which is also volunteer service. I use it in for people who reach out to me who want coaching, consulting, or just to chat. I have some special situations where there are private bookings, and so they're very for very particular people. I use it in that way. But all of it streamlines my ability to have people schedule time with me, and I don't have to spend the time going back and forth figuring out when time is available on my calendar, person by person or situation by situation. The second way that you streamline your process is you can set up automated workflows out of it. Well, let me explain to you what I mean by that. When you use a booking system or booking application, you can have it set up the virtual meeting, Zoom, or something else so that it automatically sends the person the link to get into, I'm going to say Zoom because that's so popular and so well known. Get into the Zoom meeting, it puts it on your calendar, it books it, it sends the person an email, it sends the person a reminder. And if you want to send the person something else in between, you can set that up. That is streamlining your process. Why? You build it once and you don't have to go back and do it again. Don't know about you, but I have certainly gotten caught in. I didn't send somebody a reminder. They forgot about it. They lost it. They didn't look at their calendar, whatever the case may be. All of it works. And I'm waiting for a meeting, and the person doesn't show up. It's not that the person intentionally didn't show up. They just, it's the way they operate. They, or have you been in this? You've scheduled an appointment, you've scheduled a meeting. Let's say it's a board meeting. And the meeting has started, and now you're getting text messages, phone calls, and emails asking you to send them the link again. Using this type of a tool eliminates that. The Zoom link is in the appointment, the Zoom link is in the email reminders. The person gets a reminder, like for me, mine is set up so that I think it's 30 minutes before the meeting, it sends another reminder email out. I don't have to do anything. It's already set. It's set it and forget it, and it's done. So those are ways that you can streamline your own workflows. If you have additional, I'll give you an example. If you're in business, or when you're in business, because I'm talking to purpose driven leaders, most of whom are in business, even if it's nonprofit, it's a business, and you're accepting payments before the booking or the schedule is made, you can set up or configure the booking tool to accept the payment before the person can book their time on your calendar. You don't have to be involved. You set your price. If you have questions that you want the person to answer or information you want the person to provide to you before you meet with them, then you put all of that in the booking system. And so it's automated, and you don't have to manually fill that information out each and every time an appointment is booked with you. And if you have different types of appointments, which most of us will, you can have different sets of questions or pieces of information that you're gathering. You can mix and match. If some appointments are paid appointments and others are not, it's okay. You can have both. A couple of years ago, I was assisting someone, and when I really understood this, and I was working with somebody, and I'll just say it was in Toastmasters, and every um, summer, Toastmasters goes through a whole from the top level of the organization all the way down to the club level, a changing of administration, if you will. So you have literally thousands of roles changing in about a month and a half period of time. Well, at the board of directors level, all clubs get to meet, all districts get to meet the people who are running for the top spots at the board level. And those districts, those leaders have to meet with those people, and it can be 20, 30 of these people, all in about a month and a half period of time. And so when they're booking it, they use Toastmasters give these people who are running for these roles a booking calendar, and all of the districts, hundreds of them globally, go book the appointments on the person's calendar. I also used this in ministry. Before we had the system we have today, we set up a booking calendar so that when people wanted to use a specific portion of the church or wanted to book it for a weekend for an event or whatever, even if they wanted to book the sound equipment, they wanted to use it, we used a booking calendar. So those are ways, practical ways that I've used it before I even started using it personally myself. And when I was working with the Toastmasters district, I was the one who was going into those calendars booking them. So what I did was set up a booking calendar on our side for those who needed to book appointments with the leaders that I was working with. So it worked both ways. So those are some practical ways that are that you can use, and it streamlines it, and it takes a whole lot less time, energy, and cognitive load off of you. And I see questions coming in, so definitely I want to get back to them. Um, so that's number 2. The third reason is it will help you reduce scheduling errors. Yes. Have you ever scheduled a meeting? Maybe I'm just talking about me, where you had the wrong meeting title, or you had the right people but the wrong subject on the meeting? I've done that. So, or on the wrong calendar. So, with the booking system, you designate a calendar for these appointments to go to. So you don't you eliminate the possibility of it going on the wrong calendar. You also eliminate Florence telling on herself again, overscheduling. So you don't accidentally book two people at the same time, because the booking tool, if it sees that that block of time is booked, it won't allow the person, it won't even show that time available to the person. It literally will only show the time that's available based on the rules or the configuration settings that you set up. It also eliminates you forgetting to give the person instructions or ask specific questions. In my case, when someone books a clarity call with me, I ask them a couple of questions. Why? I will get the answers to those questions, and that gives me time to do some preparation before we spend that time we get on that clarity call. So I can come into the call or into that video meeting prepared to have a fruitful discussion with that person, to make the best use of their time and the best use of my time. So it eliminates me forgetting to ask the question or give them instructions, because I can put it right into the booking system and they get it immediately. It also gives me consistent appointment titles. And in this case, in the coaching, I also have the name of the person right on the subject of the meeting. I don't know about you, but if I have 5 appointments that all say the same thing, I don't remember who it's with, why we're meeting, or anything. Because the booking software, you can customize what the title of the meeting will be. It eliminates you accidentally giving it the wrong title, or not putting the person's name on it, or not putting information in that tell you what this meeting is about, and it doesn't tell the other person what the meeting is about. So it eliminates or reduces those errors that you could run into. So The last tip I'm going to share with you, and then we're going to go to comments, is it simplifies your day. How in the world does it simplify your day? It allows you and me to not focus on coordinating a bunch of meetings. In my life, and it's truly every part of my life, I can spend all day coordinating meetings. Having a automated booking system eliminates you having to spend the time or invest the time coordinating. What does that do? It frees you up to get other work done, to serve a client, to serve a family member, to serve a community or a cause that you're committed to do the actual work that needs to be done. And you're not figuring out, when am I going to meet with Joe, and when am I going to meet with Barbara, and when am I going to meet with Sam, and when am I going to meet with this committee over here, because this tool is taking care of all of that administrative headache for you, or administrivia for you. Maybe it's not a headache, but it frees up some of that 1,440 minutes you have in a day, so that the tool takes that work. It is your assistant, and you can do other work. The other thing it does is it sets clear boundaries for you. It sets very clear boundaries for you. What do I mean by that? I have time set aside for me personally, Florence time with all her extraness. So the booking tool won't schedule on top of it. I have time set aside for my spiritual life. The booking tool won't schedule on top of it. If I have days or weeks where I know I'm just clearly not going to be available, I can go in and put those dates in. And even if I've said these appointments can be booked in that time, it won't allow anyone to book time with me. So I don't have to send out of office messages for it, or send out reminders to people that I'm not going to be available, because the tool itself constrains my calendar so that I'm not overbooked with other people taking up that time on the calendar. So, those are the four reasons that you would want to consider, in situations when you would want to consider putting these in place. And if you have, again, questions, Q colon in front of it, and I will be glad to answer your questions. Now I'm going to go out here because I see some new folks in the building, and I am so excited. Blue skies. It is so nice to see you. And I happen to know who you are because I come on your mom's stream. So, so glad to have you in the building with us this evening. So, Roy, you always have the greatest stories. You were asked by someone to schedule a meeting. I asked who they wanted me to include, and so I sent the invite for the time they said. Then they declined the meeting. What crazy? See, you don't want to have that. You took the time to do all of that coordination, and it didn't work. All right. So we have a question here, and you're going to see something new. And this is why I asked Roy if he was in his studio. Oops, I hit the wrong button. Are any of these resources free? Um, Actually, yes. If you use, so I'm going to answer it two ways, and I'm going to talk about some specific examples. But last week or the week before, I shared that you could do bookings on a Google Calendar, even if you have a Gmail account instead of one of their paid accounts. That scheduling feature is available in Google Calendar. So you could set up a booking calendar right in Google. If you have a Zoom account, and we're getting a little ahead, this is not free, but if you have a paid Zoom account, it's also available in Zoom. One of these weeks this month, I'm actually going to go through a set of these different types of tools or name them and kind of talk about using them depending on what your situation is, what your circumstances are, whether you have something already or you don't. But there is at least, um, from a free standpoint, I would say Google, the scheduling tool that's in Google right now. Let's see if I see it. I'm going to do a Q colon real quick and see if I'm overlooking any questions. Q colon. All right. Yeah. Thank you, Denise. You always have good questions. So, yeah, if any of them are free. There are some that are the one that I use is not free and I've had it for a long time and I've got a boatload of appointment types set in there. And because I bought it as a lifetime deal, I think I paid maybe $30 for it and it was a one and done. I just keep using it because I'm used to using it and I have had it for a couple of years now, couple 3 years now. And so I just keep using the same one. Uh, so I don't see any other questions. What I'm showing you here on the screen, if you look at the little icon next to Frank's name, it's the little Zoom icon. And I'm so excited because last week, this is nothing about this topic, but I got to talk about it because I'm so excited about it. Last week, Ecamm for Zoom was released, and I have been using it, and I am totally, totally excited about it. It has solved some serious challenges that I was facing, especially in some of the nonprofit work, specifically ministry that I was using. And if you're a member of my community, you will begin to get some content or some invitations to join us behind the scenes when we're live and in some other meetings and have a little fun, have a little bit of a hangout. So I don't see any other questions. Do we have any other comments? Laura, how are you? Do you have any questions? So glad to have you back with us again. I'm checking comments, everybody. Oh, I thought you were her daughter. Well, sorry. Oh, she's your sister. Okay, Denise. Sorry. All this time I literally thought Blue Skies was your daughter that you were talking to. So, um Denise asked a question and you all are talking together and I think that's wonderful. Do you think that you should consider this? Denise, I know that you have shared that you are doing some courses now and get off the screen. Um doing some courses now. You stood up your community. You may be meeting with suppliers. These are great opportunities um to reduce all of this time that you're taking to schedule and coordinate all of it. So you and Blue Skies, as you are working with various groups of people, it could be a big boon. And another question is that came here: how did you learn all of this stuff about Google? So I'm I'm a little bit of a I'm a geek. That I'll put it out there. I'm a geek, except when I'm trying to use Ecamm tonight. And so I will just go click around in software. I'll get a piece of software and cuz I have a workshop that I do that's called You Can't Break It. And it's designed for people who get a little bit shy about software. And I know because I've been in the information technology field for a very long time, you actually cannot break software. You you think you can. You can make it look weird, but you ultimately can't really break it. You can find a bug, you can use it in a way that it wasn't designed to be used, but you actually can't break the software. And so I will click and see what something does. I look at every part, little periods, little arrows. I click on them and see if they do anything. And that's actually honestly how I find most of the stuff. I just start clicking around and try it. Probably not very scientific, but eh, it works. And that's how I find a lot of it. um, oh my goodness. Okay. Tech Trouble Monkey. I sold my digital soul to Google in 1996. Yeah, no. Uh, uh. And then he says, Ecamm is my favorite, but requires a Mac to use. Yes, it does require a Mac and to use, but I'm I'm a Mac person. I have Mac laptops, iPad, iPhone, and just decided a long time ago that I wasn't gonna revert to using Windows computers. And I started, well, when I started in mainframes, but I've worked on every size system that has been made at this point. Uh, okay, so I am too, but I've fallen down on the job when it comes to video. Okay, well, we can, get that picked back up. And you said, wow, I love that. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but that's okay. Um, and then Blue Skies, I'll have to explore Ecamm. Everything I have is Apple. Denise, you use Ecamm, right? I think you do. So you could, maybe you guys can, if you're close to each other, geographically, you can kind of go play with it and get familiar with it that way. And if Denise is a Ecamm user, if you have an affiliate link, Denise, share it with your sister. Be nice to her. Thank you. That's so kind of you. I loved how you learned about the whole Google ecosystem. And they keep changing things. Last month, I talked about Google Task because about 6 months or so ago, I talked about Google Task. And in that time, Google changed, added the way tasks worked and what you could do with them and where you could work with them. And so software is changing all the time. New features are coming out, new ways of using software, any of them, all of them is changing dramatically almost daily at this point. And the proliferation of generative AI is making it go even faster. I didn't even talk about how generative AI is embedded in the Google ecosystem. It's in Google Docs. This is way off topic, but since you brought it up, um, but yeah, it's generative AI is changing everything, and it actually is changing the way booking systems work as well. So Denise made another comment here. I have not tried Ecamm. I hear you, Roy, and Walter talk about it. Well, anytime you want to try it, Denise, there's a link in the description. I have links in the description. Oh, by the way, see, I'm still goofing off here. If you have not liked, subscribed, or to the channel, please subscribe and like the video today if you've enjoyed and gotten value from the information that I'm sharing. And I'm not using the word content on purpose. And then also, there's another question. So let's go ask the question, answer this question. Does Ecamm have a free trial period? It does. By default, Ecamm gives you have a 14-day free trial with it. And if you want to use it, I will tell you just immediately. And I think there's a link in my video description as well. Um, if you try it and you decide you want to switch to it, Just go with the pro plan. Don't even consider the standard plan. And oh, by the way, we're so off topic. This ain't got nothing to do with booking. But oh, by the way, Ecamm, I run the Ecamm beta software. And so Ecamm is constantly releasing new features. This Zoom integration is part of the new features that are in beta. So we'll run it in this test mode for months, if not a year, before it's actually in the regular release of the product. But the beta or test version is super stable. I've not really ever had a problem with it. And I've been in IT, like I said, for a very long time. And usually I run from beta software, but Ecamm's, I use it exclusively. I don't even use the regular version of it. I just use the beta version all the time. So I'm just double checking. If no one else has a question, I have covered what I wanted to. And just to wrap up, 4 reasons to start to make the decision to use booking software. And it really solidify how you think about it. Reason number 1 is you're managing multiple schedules and you're trying to keep them straight. Reason number 2 is you want to streamline your processes and simplify it and get multiple downstream tasks done quickly and effortlessly and let the tool do the work for you, truly be your assistant. Number 3, reduce those scheduling errors, because having to go back and fix a scheduling error, you're taking up more of your time, more of those 1,440 minutes in a day. Free that time up. And last, it simplifies your day because it takes a workload off of you and allows you to focus on the higher level. If you work in healthcare and oftentimes in healthcare, when we're talking, especially about clinical folks, we want those people working at what we call the top of their license, not doing things that they don't need to do, but the thing that they're most skilled at and where the most value to the patient comes. Treat this like that for you. Treat your time like that. Work at the top of your time and not at the minutiae where you can. And this is a way for you to be, if you will, working at the top of where you have to do and not down in the weeds, in the minutiae, scheduling and coordinating. So that's what I have for you all tonight. I am glad to have you here. We're going to be back here next week. And there will be oh, thank you, Denise. She said, I just saw it. I was about to close. I can see the benefit of a booking software. When I run my course, I schedule 2 one-on-one sessions with them, and it is tricky. I need to have some real. Oh, yes. Denise, yes. Yes. When you're running your courses, definitely. If you're doing one-on-ones with folks, put the work on them and just give them access. Set up the time and we'll go through some examples of when you're going to do those sessions and let people book them. There's a lot of variability there. Absolutely. All right. So I'm going to say good night to y'all, and there'll be a video that pops up on the screen. Go ahead and watch it. And I will see you back here next Friday at 6:30 p.m. Good night, everybody.